Okay, so one of the hidden ways that I self sabotage and exactly how I use the SNAP process to work through it. So I struggle with decision paralysis and like that need to be perfect and overthinking things a lot more than I lead on. Okay. I struggle. I struggle with it. Every single one of you guys that came to me, you're like, okay, I'm ready for HBA. I just want you to know that I had major decision paralysis over whatever story you saw me post, whatever reel you saw me post, whatever email that you read that finally got you in. Like this always comes up for me. It came up for me yesterday when I was launching the Hive, the membership. It's been coming up in the past week as I talk about the School of Sabotage. So, how do I go through the SNAP process to get past the decision paralysis and ultimately still put myself out there, put my programs out there, and be safe to feel seen and rejected as a coach? So the S in the SNAP process, my software, what is it protecting me from? Why is it having such a strong reaction to just saying, hey guys, here's this program that I made. Here's how I know it's going to help you. Do you want to do it? Why do I have such a block with that, right? Well, my software basically interprets that as a risk, a possibility of being rejected. And I know where that comes from. I moved. I lost my friend group, had to go to a new school, was bullied, was not accepted. Okay. I went through a major transition that unfortunately programmed my software to believe that moving forward, if we were to put ourselves out there like we had to when we moved, it's always going to end up as being rejected, as being hurt, and as being bullied. Now, logically, here in the now, I'm like, I know that. None of these women are going to bully me. None of these, like, they're just going to say, no, this program isn't for me and I'm safe. So, one, you have to know why your software and your nervous system is reacting the way that it's reacting. Or you have to have at least somewhat of an idea, maybe where that's coming from, right? You have to pause and reflect and say, why don't you feel safe right now? Where have we done something similar to this before and maybe we weren't safe or something happened to us? Where has that come up before? So you have to pause and figure out where that's coming from or have an idea of where that's coming from. Why does this matter? Well, if you don't pinpoint where this programming decided to start like misfiring and going wrong, what you're going to feel on the surface or what you're going to think in your head, because I know most of y'all still aren't in your body's feeling. We're working on that. What you are going to experience on the surface is panic, shutdown. I don't like this. I don't know why I don't like this. It doesn't feel good. Let me run away. Let me avoid. Let me pause. The N in the SNAP process, the noticing. This is where you're coming into your body and you're asking yourself, what does this dysregulation feel like? What does this software mishap actually feel like in my body? Not up here, I'm afraid, I don't know what to say, I want it to be perfect. Get out of here. What are you feeling? And for me, when I am dealing with decision paralysis, when I am dealing with, oh, I just don't want to put myself out there as a coach. What if they don't like me? And really, it's what if I get bullied? No one here is going to bully me. What I notice in my body is impulsiveness, jitteriness, mental distraction. It's like my brain is just going back and forth and an inability to concentrate. Why does it matter that we start to recognize these things? Well, if you don't notice these things are going to run you. This is where you're going to impulsively go rage clean. This is where you're going to impulsively go fill your schedule with a bunch of busyness that actually isn't getting the work done. If you don't become familiar with the sensations happening in your body when you are dysregulated, when your software is like going haywire, if you don't start to become very familiar with those, you'll never be able to recognize your patterns. And those sensations will ultimately drive the actions that you take or the actions that you don't take. And for most of us, when we're dysregulated, when we're dealing with self-sabotage, the things that we end up doing aren't actually the things that we need to be doing. We either don't do anything at all, or we do a bunch of extra shit that doesn't actually matter. Your sensations are driving your actions or inactions. So if we want to fix our habits, we have to connect back here. Okay. So the A in the SNAP process, my anchor for things like decision paralysis over my work, my programs, and talking with you guys is I have an evidence list. I have an evidence list of every single time someone has said to me, Kate, you really helped me with this, or Kate, you changed my life. I pull that up. That's my anchor. And anchor matters because when we're dysregulated, when our software and our programming starts to do a bunch of crazy shit, when we start to pull our attention to what's happening in our body and make sense of why all of this stuff feels so hard, it's a lot. It's a lot to start breaking these patterns. It's a lot. And it can feel very like, I don't know, like loony sometimes to go through it. So the point of having an anchor is to have something that grounds you back in the moment, okay? Because what happens? You're in the moment, the dysregulation happens. I'm in the moment. I know I need to start talking about the hive. I freak out. And immediately, once the freak out happens, I'm out of the moment. I'm out of the moment. So once we figure out where all of that's coming from, notice the sensations in our body, we've got to pull ourselves back here. That's what an anchor does. So my evidence list pulls me back here. It says, hey, look, the reality is you are good at what you do. The P in the SNAP process, the poop it out, the get rid of the dysregulation happening in the body, get rid of the anxiousness, level the brain, get rid of the impulsiveness. This is where those lifelines come into play. The lifelines are truly how you poop things out. I have 4 or 5 things that I do on the regular. That's my toolbox. I have a toolbox. I've gone through, you guys are going to get access to 40 plus lifelines in this program. I've done all of them. I know that there are 4 or 5 of them that work extremely well for me. There's 4 or 5 of them that are probably going to work extremely well for you, and then the others won't. Normal. We all need different things. But I know that I have 4 or 5 things. I do them on the regular. I've done this so many times. I've done the SNAP process so many times. So many times. I know what works. So part of the pooping it out is pooping out the activation we feel in the body. You can't regulate yourself if you don't know. You cannot regulate yourself. You can't poop this stuff out. You can't go through the SNAP process if you bypass actually recognizing what's happening in the body. And when I say recognizing what's happening in your body, I don't mean sensing that your chest is tight, sensing that you feel anxiousness, sensing that you feel impulsiveness and immediately running away from it. You have to sit with it. You guys have to sit with the faulty programming. That's the only way that you fix it. That's the only way that you become familiar enough with it to know exactly what it needs. I am not somebody that is regulated all the time. I'm dysregulated a lot, but you wouldn't know that because I'm actively going through this process to pull me back to center. I go through the SNAP process multiple times of my day, but I never bypass the discomfort that comes from noticing what's happening in my body. All of you guys are disconnected from your body. Don't skip this part.